Is Trump stuck in a war it may struggle to win? Iran MP's weapons claim is likely to sharpen that question. Iran MP says the country's missile and drone stockpiles could sustain several years of war. Iran's latest declaration lands as infighting and anxiety grow in Washington over weapons shortages and war sustainability. An Iranian MP said the country's missile and drone stockpiles were large enough to sustain what he described as several years of war. Alaeddin Boroujerdi also warned that Iran would not simply let President Donald Trump walk away without consequences, according to Iran International's reporting on his remarks. Iran International said the comments were made by the senior lawmaker in remarks carried by Tasnim news agency. Alaeddin Boroujerdi said, and I quote, "The country's missile and drone stockpiles were sufficient for several years of war. The negotiating table is not a place of compromise and humiliation. But Trump should know that we will not let him go. Our fighters are present on the battlefield, and the struggle and war will certainly continue until the Zionist regime and criminal America are truly punished." Unquote. The claim of a massive Iranian weapons stockpile surfaced as reports pointed to growing infighting and unease inside the Trump administration over the war's direction and costs. Trump administration officials are reportedly raising new questions about how the Pentagon is portraying U.S. power projection in the Iran war, with internal doubts emerging over whether the public narrative matches the real battlefield and logistics picture. Vice President J.D. Vance has reportedly been asking whether the Pentagon is giving President Donald Trump the full picture of the war, especially in private discussions about costs, risks, and sustainability. According to The Atlantic, Vance raised concerns in closed-door meetings about U.S. missile stockpiles and whether key munitions are being depleted faster than the administration has publicly acknowledged. Vance is said to fear that American missile reserves may be far more strained than official messaging suggests, particularly after weeks of high-intensity operations tied to the Iran conflict. Those concerns reportedly extend beyond Iran, with Vance worrying about whether the United States would still be able to fight a major future war in Taiwan, Korea, or Europe if stocks are being burned down too quickly now. Despite that, U.S. military officials and War Secretary Pete Hegseth have continued to insist that American stockpiles remain robust and that the military's position is still strong. Officials familiar with intelligence assessments told The Atlantic that the internal picture may be more complicated than those public assurances suggest, helping explain why questions inside the administration are growing sharper. Iran is still assessed to retain about two-thirds of its air force and a significant share of its missile launching capability despite weeks of US and allied strikes. Key US munitions may already be more than half depleted, with The Atlantic citing concerns that several critical weapon stocks have been drawn down far more heavily than public messaging suggests. The Atlantic also points to internal tensions within Trump's national security team, particularly over how the war's progress and costs are being described inside the administration. According to people described in the reporting, Pete Hegseth's messaging is seen by some insiders as overly optimistic and too closely aligned with what Trump wants to hear. Behind that public messaging smokescreen, J.D. Vance has reportedly kept pressing for greater clarity in closed-door meetings as doubts grow over the real state of the war. Beyond missile stocks, Vance is also said to be questioning the Pentagon's broader portrayal of battlefield success against Iran. As a result, questions are now being raised over official U.S. claims of complete control over Iranian skies and over how decisive the campaign has really been. Taken together, the reporting suggests the scale of the war and its long-term risks may be getting understated at the highest levels of the U.S. government. The United States weapons inventory may be under increasing strain, raising concerns about readiness for future conflicts. A report by Business Insider suggests that critical munitions are being consumed at a significant pace during the ongoing Iran war. Over the course of just 39 days, U.S. forces reportedly relied heavily on 7 key weapon systems in coordination with Israel. These findings were highlighted by 2 warfare specialists associated with the Center for Strategic and International Studies. According to defense analysts, such levels of consumption could pose challenges if a larger conflict were to emerge. The report indicates that while the U.S. maintains substantial stockpiles, they may not be sufficient for prolonged or simultaneous wars. Even prior to the Iran conflict, assessment suggested that U.S. stockpiles could be stretched in the event of a major confrontation with China. Experts have warned that replenishing munitions used in the Iran war could take considerable time and industrial capacity. Some estimates indicate that more than half of pre-war inventories for certain systems may already have been expended. The scale of US munitions usage during the Iran conflict is reflected in the numbers below. Around 1,430 Patriot interceptors have reportedly been used out of a total inventory of approximately 2,330 units. 4 SM-3 interceptors. Estimates suggest that between 130 and 250 missiles have been expended from a stockpile exceeding 400. In the case of SM-6 missiles, usage is believed to have reached up to 370 out of an available inventory of about 1,160. Precision strike missiles, considered a newer battlefield asset, have seen between 40 and 70 units deployed from roughly 90 available. Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles have also been used extensively, with more than 850 fired from a stockpile exceeding 3,000. Similarly, around 1,000 joint air-to-surface standoff missiles have reportedly been utilized from an inventory of over 4,000 units. In response, Washington is reportedly moving to expand production and rebuild depleted stockpiles. Lockheed Martin is expected to increase THAAD interceptor production capacity to approximately 400 units annually. Production of Tomahawk missiles is also being scaled up to exceed 1,000 units per year. However, estimates suggest it could take more than 4 years to fully replenish certain key systems. As a result, analysts believe the US could face increased vulnerability in the event of another major conflict. Many of the munitions expended in the Iran war are considered essential for deterrence and operations involving China. Military experts have emphasized the importance of maintaining sufficient long-range strike capabilities for future scenarios. The report further cautions that a potential conflict with China could lead to even faster depletion of US stockpiles.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.